Hello, this is Elder Tehila Firewind from the Covenant of the Open Mind, and you're watching Wicca 101 Abridged. Hail and welcome. The topic this time is on the Wheel of the Year, or the motivation behind the Wiccan holidays called Sabbats and Esbats. For this one, I wanted to take a slightly different approach, reading an excerpt of the Wicca 101 book that I'm working on, because it's a bit more poetic, and I just feel like this does a really good job of capturing the poetry and the magic behind the changing of the seasons, or what we call the Wheel of the Year. When I'm done, I'll talk a bit more about what each of these paragraphs means and direct you over to our other series, Sabbats 101, for more information and specific information about each holiday and examples on rituals. For now, here is the Wheel of the Year by me. Enjoy. In the dark of the darkest night, when hope is hard to come by, the pleasant aroma of flowers, long gone from memory, and the cold wind howls through deadened woods, all await with bated breath upon the dawn. A few hours of carols, of spiced wine and merriment, before time finally comes to greet the great God as he rises from the womb. From the lady of the womb, great goddess of the underworld, comes forth the God of love, renewal, and hope, the Lord of rebirth. In splendor and light, yet weak and cold, the young God is born anew, coming forth just a moment sooner than the previous day. A sign, a promise that the darkness won't last forever. The young God grows, and with his aging, so too do the days grow longer. A spark in the waxing light. The day breaks as the sunlight reflects off the melting snow. The goddess springs forth into the world, pure in form, ready for her life to come. Candles are lit, love is spread throughout the world, and the promise of spring lies around the corner. The Lady of Flame greets the Lord of Ice, tempering his frozen heart and thawing the lands he rules. With the arrival of the sweet-scented Lady of Flowers, life begins to return to the world. Everywhere the goddess goes, every dance-like movement of her womanly form brings forth buds throughout the land, crowning the trees, popping out through the frost-tipped ground. The Lord of the Woods walks amongst the trees, following his love closely, yet admiring her from afar, as her dance brings forth all the life in this world. His handsome form distracts the gaze of the goddess, as she sees him for the first time as a man. They meet with love in their eyes, and there is balance in the world, and so they dance together. Nature blossoms around them, and so too does the goddess. Soon the god cannot resist her form, as her beauty is beyond anything he has ever known, and the love in his heart stronger than any ever expressed on this beautiful earth. Her love is strong as well, and his advances are welcome. They unite and become one, and in glory and love does the Lady of the Lake conceive of all which sustains life. She smiles at the blessing inside her, the expression of their love. The Lord of the Hunt, the horned god, smiles back at his love, for soon she shall bear the fruits of his loins. Her bosom grows, her tummy stretches, and her body becomes bloated with the blessings of life. The Lady of the Green swells with bounty, as the Lord of the Green oversees his land. The day is long, and there is much to be done. The god ensures the crops are sown, and they begin to grow strong under his care. The goddess rests, feeling the peace and serenity of the warm summer months. But the peace cannot last long, for as things mature, and all things grow old, the god sees the crop is well, but he knows that maturation cannot come without sacrifice. The sun is weakening, and time grows thin. His form has aged, and he grows weary as the days begin to wane. Soon the lady of the field bears forth his fruits, and in blessed happiness the god and goddess celebrate their child. Yet the crop is ripe, and the time has come for the Lord of the barley to give himself to death, so that the harvest may come. The child is beautiful, and the bounty of the lady of the harvest is full and blessed. And yet her form takes on the aches of age as well, as she mourns her departed love, and the world grows heavy with the scent of death and the start of decay. She knows only too well the value of sacrifice, and offers up the bountiful child to sustain the life of this world. In wisdom she recounts the life she has been blessed to live, and her beloved Lord of the Sheath protects her heart from the sadness of maturation. Soon she will be with her love, and together they will be in death as it was in life. The goddess grows weary, and in her turn passes away. All things warm and light, all things loving and happy depart from this world, as death hangs heavy in the air, nestled amongst the faded trees, and buried beneath the browning leaves which gather upon the ground. The wind begins to howl, and the air grows cold. But the Lord and Lady of Shadows fret not, for they are one once again, united in death, timeless and honored by those who would remember their beauty and their sacrifice. United, her womb grows full again, this time of a new light, of a life yet to come. By the Lord of Shadows shall come forth the greatest of lights, the waxing of the sun. And as the wheel does turn, so too does the world. All things wax, and all things wane. Fret not the sadness of the coming darkened days, for soon they shall give forth to the mighty dawn the beauty of spring and the blessings of summer. Blessed are the Lord and Lady, for through them does all life come, and to them does all life return. Blessed be. So that is a very long and poetic way to describe what essentially is a revivalist form of nature worship brought into the modern world. So the story describes the changing seasons as a relationship between the forces of push and pull, or in Wicca, what we call masculine and feminine. The reason why they use a man and a woman in this analogy is simple. It's not meant in any way to be homophobic or transphobic or any kind of phobic or ist. It's meant to be a way of representing how two opposing forces are needed to create life, mimicking the duality found on the higher planes of existence in a way that is relatable and full of blessings, basically. So the creation of the child that represents the crop, and the loss of the god and goddess is a sacrifice to keep their children, us, alive, and that's like a standard sense for parents, which many know. This theme of sex, reproduction, creation, rebirth, all of that is key within Wicca, because Wicca is a fertility religion, and it's centered on the blessings that keep us alive: food, reproduction, and drink, mostly. So the Wiccan holidays are all about feasting, making merry, and celebrating the changing seasons, a combination of worshiping the nature that sustains us and the forces that make nature tick and that make us up. So all the holidays happen at the days where the seasons change. So in the story, it starts with Yule, which is the start of the year. Note that the year ends on Samhain, so many consider that to be the start of the year because they don't like having a gap, but there really is a gap, okay? There's a time between Samhain and Yule that's called the Dead Days, where there is no life magic on this plane of existence or in your hemisphere, and no magic can really be done that uses life energy. So in Wicca, which exclusively uses life energy, no magic can be done at all. So everything in Wicca is a spectrum, And the end and the start of the year are no exception to that. So it ends, and then after some time, it starts again. So Yule happens on the winter equinox, or the winter solstice, I mean to say, which is December 21st-ish, but it varies based on where you're located. It's the shortest day of the year, basically, in your geographic region. The eve is the celebration, and then you wake up super early and do ritual right at the start of the day, at the crack of dawn, which at this time of year is actually not that early. It's like at 6:30 you wake up, and then the ritual's at 7 or 7:15. So the ritual can be done on the day of Yule, which is the shortest day of the year, or it can be done on the day after, which is how I do it personally, how we do it in our coven, which is the first day of the year, the day in which the sun rises a little earlier than the previous day. So the day is a little longer than the previous day. So that to me represents the birth of the sun, right? So you do ritual on the day the sun is born, a celebration of creation and rebirth. Get it, Christians? The birth of the sun. Super punny. Super punny. So then you keep going and you get to Imbolc. That's the day that the goddess is born. And the goddess represents nature and flowers and plants and all that stuff. So the goddess is born and spring just starts to stir. And the goddess is basically synonymous with the growth of the plants. So we light candles and we send love letters. That's like why Valentine's Day is in February, is in Imbolc. You know, these are seasons, okay? So I'll often say the season of Imbolc or the full moon in Imbolc, right? Because these are seasons. They last for a period of time. It's not just one day. So Imbolc is the season of purification and preparation and love, and so we remind ourselves that light is coming and that love will prevail. And it's a fixed holiday, which means that it's on the same day every year in every region, and it's celebrated on February 1st, always. Okay. Next, we get into spring. So the goddess is dancing, she's bringing life into the world, and that's the start of spring, Ostara, the spring equinox, when the day and the night are equally long. And again, that will happen at slightly different times depending on what region you're located in. So you have to look it up. And here, the day and night being equally long represents a balance between these dichotomous forces, okay? So the god and goddess fall in love and meet and begin their romance, and the sweet aroma of spring fills the air, and this is a holiday of awakening and growth and equality and balance. So next, the goddess is fully mature. She's in her prime. The god can't resist her. This is not meant to be some sexist comment about how men struggle to control their ability to their urges, whatever. No. Okay. It's meant as a representation of how push will always push, okay? In this myth, the god, the man in the myth, represents aggression and force and domination, right? And that's, domination is the wrong word. And I will do a video specifically on feminism in Wicca that talks about this. But it's not some big statement on how everyone and everything exists, okay? All it means is that men tend to be more aggressive, women tend to be more receptive, and that doesn't mean anything about being dominant or submissive, right? I mean, have you seen a bear protect her cubs? Because that is nurturing femininity in its most aggressive form. She will kill your ass, okay? Pardon my language. So all it means is that men will tend to be more aggressive and women more receptive. And that is reflected in the sex hormones that each sex gets. Testosterone largely, in large doses, makes you more aggressive, and estrogen largely makes people more receptive and kind and emotional. Wicca is not designed to be sexist. I will talk about this, okay? But it's based on biology. It's like a primitive science. And biology is kind of sexist. And it sucks, I guess, but if this aspect of Wicca is bothersome to you, then leave it and take the rest, or find another path that is less fertility based and less big on man plus woman equals life. For humans, There's really no other way to get life right now. Maybe that'll change, but that's where the Wiccan dynamic comes from. Okay, so we're on Beltane. God and goddess have sex, happy times, everyone has sex. It's a holiday of fertility and impregnation, and everyone's running around naked, and it's just like a really fun time. And you have the maypole, which symbolizes like wrapping, the woman around the man, that's what it comes from. And this is another fixed holiday, so it's always on May 1st. It's a very big time for weddings and love-based ceremonies, and so that's Beltane. Okay, so then we get into the later stages of spring and the start of summer, and that is as we approach Litha. So the goddess is swollen, she's resting in the summer heat, waiting to give birth, while the god sows the fields. Again, it may seem sexist, but it's not meant to be sexist. It's not Wicca's fault that men can't carry babies and that pregnant women get exhausted by growing a baby. And I can assure you, as a pregnant woman, that growing a baby is a lot of work. So the guy has to use his superior physical strength, generally speaking, to go out and sow the fields, and people got to eat, and that's just how it is. So Litha comes on the longest day of the year, the summer solstice. Everyone's happy, everything is green, the crops grow well. That's reflected in the health of the pregnancy. And so because the crop represents the child the goddess is going to give birth to. And it's the celebration of light and love and nature's bounty and summer sun celebration. Happy fun times. Okay, so moving on to the end of the summer, we come to the first harvest, Wulknasa. This is a fixed holiday again. It's on the 1st of August. So notice that it goes fixed, not fixed, fixed, not fixed. It alternates. This holiday, the wheat is being harvested, so is the barley. It's a holiday all about bread, so how much fun is that? The god sees that his child is born and that the crop is ready and that he can go. He can sacrifice himself for us, and that's mirrored in the sacrifice of the hunt. The killing of the animals and the creation of meat, which can last throughout the winter and keep everyone alive. The god is in the crop, the god is in the hunt, so he sacrifices himself for our mundane, mortal needs to keep us alive. Get it? He dies for our sins. Get it, Christians? Get it? So this is a celebration of sacrifice, harvest, and abundance. It's a very similar theme of sacrifice that you find in Christianity. But the difference is that in Wicca, we don't believe that we're inherently wrong for having to stay alive. We were created this way. We have to stay alive. So we thank the god for sacrificing himself for us. But that's where we draw the line. That's about it. We don't feel bad about it. Okay. So now we're well into fall, and the goddess is mourning, but not too much, okay, because she knows that age is going to take her too, and then she'll be reunited with her love. So this takes us into the second harvest, which is called Mabon. This is celebrated on the fall equinox, so around September 22nd. Keep in mind that, again, it's different everywhere. It's, again, a day where the day and night is equally long. There's balance because the goddess dies, and with her goes nature. So this is technically the start of fall. And she dies, and now she's reunited with her loved one, and so there's balance. The season of death starts, and death energy is now more prominent than life energy. So it's another day of abundance and harvest, but it's also a day of decline and a celebration of old age, and it marks, the official start of the season of death. So then we come to the last holiday in the year, and that's Samhain. That's the Day of the Dead. So that's another fixed holiday on November 1st. But many people celebrate the eve before as well, because you do ritual at midnight. So it's literally on November 1st at midnight, very first thing on November 1st. So you stay up. Most people fast all day, and then they do ritual when they're super hungry and like delusional, and they can see spirits everywhere, and then they eat a ton of food. That's how you celebrate it. So on this day, the dead are hailed and death is honored. And in Wicca, death is not seen as a big scary thing. It's a relief. It's like at the end of a long, long day when your body is achy and sore and you're ready to just embrace the touch of death and go to sleep and not have to deal with the turmoil of the everyday world again. And again, we believe in reincarnation, so it's not the end. It's the start of a new journey. So on Samhain, we give thanks for the death, for the dead and for death in general, because death comes along and saves us from the suffering of life, basically, from the suffering of old age and that sort of thing. Death is a relief. And we remember the departed dead because remembering people is how we keep them alive. So this is the end of the year. It's the celebration of death and transformation because of that idea of you die and are reincarnated into a new life. So there are the 8 Sabbats. Those are the solar holidays that celebrate the interaction of the masculine with the feminine, and so that is kind of like the wheel of the year. That's the main juice of our holidays in Wicca. Now, there are lesser holidays called Esbats, which are the lunar holidays, and those are celebrated at the full moon. The Esbats fit into the wheel of the year by marking time. So these are the celebrations of the passing of days. And you might hear people refer to it like the full moon in Imbolc, or the full moon in Beltane, or the second full moon of the first harvest, okay, which is in Lammas. So that's one way that people keep track of time in Wicca, because the 365-day calendar with months and everything is very Christian-oriented. That was invented by other people. So the revivalist groups often look back at a calendar that makes more sense to us, which captures the wheel of the year. So the full moons represent the passing of time and the calendar, and they're usually associated with the goddess, but there are lunar gods also. And it basically just marks the passing of the wheel of the year. And that's the significance of the Esbats with regard to the wheel of the year. And there's your very high-level overview of holidays tied together through the wheel of the year, that's what we call it. And note that in the other hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, because this is all, I gave you the dates for the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, everything is opposite. The wheel moves the opposite way. So the winter solstice is in the summer in the northern hemisphere. So December 21st is the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. So it's exactly the same, but completely flopped. For more information about each individual holiday, make sure you check out our Sabbats 101 series that High Priest Ogunslav is doing, and that will tell you like specific associations and traditions and deities and all that kind of stuff. And then we also, for the next year, are going to do all of our Sabbat rituals as videos that you guys can watch and learn from. And I also post those to our ritual encyclopedia on the website if you are interested in seeing like transcripts of what we say and that sort of thing. So I hope this explains some of the underlying philosophies behind Wiccan nature worship and, just what the relationship between competing forces of masculine and feminine mean to Wicca and what it means that we're a fertility, nature worshiping religion, basically. And thanks for watching Wicca 101 Abridged, and from all of us here at the Coven of the Open Mind, blessed be.